There is a challenge for the Republican primary. Each candidate will have 30 seconds to give their opening remarks. Mr. Pearson has not been able to show up, but the remaining 3 candidates will be able to speak today. We'll begin with Mr. Ray Bly. You have 30 seconds for your opening remarks, Mr. Bly. And the timekeeper is right in front, and you have a microphone.
Good evening or afternoon. My name is Raymond Bly. I'm running for the U.S. Congress, District 7, for many reasons. First off, Vietnam veterans have not been treated fairly, and the veterans coming back today have not been treated fairly by our VA. We refuse to say this disease and that disease is related to Agent Orange. Second off, I'm running for my wife. How can a court take your wife away of 45 years against her will, incarcerate her without her committing a crime in a nursing home that killed her?
You're fine.
This is what happened to me in the last 2 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bly. Next opening remarks will be given by Mr. Richmond Davis.
Hello, my name is Richmond Davis. How many Republicans are there here? 2, 3? All right, it looks like I got an educational task ahead here. I am a proud Republican. I'm an attorney, and I am a Vietnam combat veteran. I am running because I want to emphasize traditional Republican principles of limited government, lower taxes, and national defense, which have made this country strong. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Mr. William Newton.
Good afternoon. My name is William T. Newton. I'm running for the Congressional 7, and I'm a constitutional conservative. The reason why I am running is because we've had approximately 30 years or more of the same representation in the 7th District, and quite frankly, it's been a hopeless failure. It's about time that a constitutionalist serves in this position, and I aim to be that person. I'm currently serving on a Republican Central Committee for 3rd District in Baltimore County, and I'm very well known in the party.
Thank you, Mr. Newton. You can address some of that in your closing.
Thank you.
Okay, now we will begin our question session. If you would like to respond to the question, please hold up your card or your hand so I can call on you in the order in which you are seen. You will have 1 minute for each response. A timekeeper sitting in the front row will let you know when you have 30 seconds remaining and when your 1 minute is up. I will begin with question 1. It's possible we need another bridge across the Chesapeake Bay. We have bridges and infrastructure that need attention in all parts of the state. How should Congress prioritize these infrastructure needs? Who would like to go first? Mr. Bly.
We definitely do, because I fished in Teneros for decades with my wife. And it's a nightmare to get across the bay a lot of Saturday, Sunday mornings.
You need to use your microphone, Mr. Bly.
Sorry about that. I'm usually loud enough that everybody can hear me anyway. But we need another 3-lane bridge, or add at least 1 lane, and then put automatic toll things on, like they have on this new highway to go to Gaithersburg from Beltsville, where it automatically bills your card. So there's no toll booths anymore. Make it quicker. Going from 3 lanes down to 2 to go across the bridge is a nightmare. And to put them on the other bridge on head-on traffic is very, very dangerous. I've seen so many close accidents on that bridge. The federal government should get in and help finance this. But the toll should have been able to pay for it by now with all the profits it's made from it.
Thank you, Mr. Bly. Mr. Newton.
Hi. I believe this is more or less a local issue other than funding on the federal side. I'd be more than willing to listen and work with any local stakeholders on this. More importantly, I'd like to balance the federal requirement or the state's needs versus private property rights. As a constitutionalist, I believe property rights are sacrosanct and they must take precedent over everything else, including development. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Davis.
There are so many issues that face our country. I have to confess, I don't know the answer to this question. What I think a representative should do is have an open mind and view it from the perspective, my perspective is as a conservative, and do what's best for all concerned. So I think it's important that a representative know what he's talking about before he utters an opinion. And I don't know the answer right now.
Okay, we'll go on to question 2. Do you feel confident our electoral system protects the individual voter and is free from outside interference, and why? Mr. Newton.
Again, I am the current chairman of the Maryland Republican Election Integrity Committee. We have the only national report, that points to the problems with the state of Maryland's elections. I personally don't think there's any more foreign intervention in our elections. I think our problem is more on a state level and the fraud and corruption that's within our state. Newton for Congress.com has all the details. Thank you.
Mr. Bly?
When I ran for U.S. Senate back in 2006, I was so outrageous by fraud in voting that I filed a federal lawsuit. It didn't go anywhere, everybody's got immunity. But it made a point. Corruption of dead people voting, illegals voting, people not even in the state anymore still voting, is getting to be ridiculous. We need to keep updating our records before each election cycle and make sure that only people that's allowed to vote can vote and do vote. We need to bring out people to vote too, because half Americans don't vote anymore. It does make a big difference, that one vote. Ask him about the last election. He won by a couple hundred and then he lost by a couple of hundred. So in the primary. So thank you. Ray Bly for U.S. Congress.
Mr. Davis.
Referencing a comment made by the preceding panel, I don't believe that we have a problem with voter suppression. I think it's a very reasonable concern to require that before one exercise a very important constitutional right, that one be properly identified as a registered voter. Simple as that.
Thank you all. Now candidates will have 30 seconds for their closing statements in reverse alphabetical order. So we will begin with Mr. Newton.
All the quicker to get me off stage. I'd like to say that Newton for Congress.com, you can find all you need to know about me. I'm currently the 3rd Council Manager District, Baltimore County Republican Central Committee member. And also, I was a recipient of Baltimore County Minority Advisory Council Humanitarian Community Service Award, and currently, as I stated, chairman of the Maryland Election Integrity Committee. It's a nonpartisan investigatory group. I would like to say, and I'm prepared for this, and taking a little poetic license with one of Ronald Reagan's quotes, I'd like to simply say, I want you all to know that I will not make age an issue in this campaign. I'm not going to exploit the for political purposes. My opponent's advanced age
Mr. Newton.
Experience, and I thank you very much for your time.
Mr. Davis.
Thank you for your attention this morning. And I address my comments now to the handful of Republicans present. I hope you'll vote for me. Yes, I'm running in the primary because in order to I have to run in the primary in order to face Elijah Cummings. That's my target. I want to establish the very strong credentials of a traditional conservative Republican, which I am, and I hope you'll support me in the primary so I can have that opportunity. Thank you.
Mr. Bly.
I got my wife here, even though she's deceased, because of the state. If you want to know anything about me, my life history is on my Facebook page at Ray Bly. Every night I'm on live at 7:30 to tell you everything, whether it's about race, religion, abortion, you name it. I don't just say better schools, lower taxes, smaller government, the main Republican platform. I tell you where I stand on this stuff. I'm the only candidate that does, which gets me into trouble.
Thank you, Mr. Bly, and thank you all. There is a challenge for the Democratic primary in District 7. Unfortunately, one of the candidates, Elijah Cummings, was unable to join us.